important things in chapter 435. Nothing. All that happened in this chapter was a reunion between pretty much the old team of Fairy Tale, the old usual gang. Nothing really valid to the story happened, except for Gagio and Levy coming back and them all being together finally. Then we had the weird Frosh moment. Natsu was told by future Rogue that Gray was going to kill Frosh in exactly 1 year. So Natsu warned Rogue and Frosh to stay behind while they went to go take care of Avatar. And in this chapter, Sting and Rogue show up with Frosh. And it was kind of freaky, I'll be honest. It was kind of terrifying when we cut to the shot of like Frosh missing, and I like had a mini heart attack, and then I went to the next panel and he was there, and I was like, oh my god. That was unnecessary. That was very unnecessary. And I really don't get the importance of why they would even... Why would Mashima even introduce this concept of Frosh being killed and the danger that Rogue was gonna turn completely evil because of Frosh being killed? And then that was completely debunked in this chapter, and I don't even understand the importance of it anymore. And I hope that this isn't it. That this isn't over. I mean, obviously, I don't know what could happen to Gray in the upcoming future with him killing Frosh, but I mean, at that time, I don't think it's going to be a year anymore. It'll be like... So I don't understand why that was even in the plot. If that's it, if we just get Gray being randomly adorable towards Frosh. He's seen Frosh before. We got that filler episode like not too long ago about him seeing Frosh, and then he was just kind of like, oh, it's Frosh. Okay, I'm gonna help him, but I'm not gonna be oddly like adorable and happy. So there's that. There was that happened, which was... I don't understand. Natsu seemed pretty done. That whole thing about Rogue turning evil, and that seems pretty done. But I wish that it wasn't. I think that it would be more interesting if they did something else. This whole chapter just seemed like a giant filler, just a filler chapter, pretty much. Besides the fact that the whole gang's back together. It's the only thing we got from this chapter, pretty much. It's nice to see them all together again, I guess, but I'm just kind of getting a little irked about these chapters here. Maybe I do just want to see everyone cry all the time. Maybe I'm just a terrible person. But when they find out Natsu's end, man, that's gonna be crazy. I'm just waiting for that to happen. And it just felt like that this is all happening really fast at the same time. Probably because of the double chapters, and also at the beginning of this chapter, it said that this was going to be the end of the double chapters coming out. So I guess Mashima just really wanted to speed through these. That's it for 435. That was it. They all had a reunion. They all had a nice little powwow, and Sting and Rogue are going to go join. And then Natsu smiled, and he was happy, and that's it. That's the end. Also, Gray decided to say that he was sorry. And guess who still hasn't said he was sorry? And now we come to 436. Oh boy, this was a very relevant chapter to the story, and I'm glad that this is happening. Wherever Zareth is now, and he's talking to the Book of End, and he's talking to it like it's Natsu. And we learn that Zareth went to a magic academy when he was a child, and he was a prodigy in magic. And we learned that he lost his little brother when he was really young, and his little brother was young as well, obviously. And he became obsessed with trying to bring him back to life. sound familiar? Which is ultimately taboo in the magic world and is forbidden. Because he wants to resurrect his brother, the elders of the academy expel him because they realize that he's becoming too obsessed with trying to resurrect his brother. So he's cursed by the death god, or the god of rage, Anselm, and for what Zareth believes for trying to resurrect his brother. From then he gains the power to, he says that if he cares too much about life, then everything around him will die. So it's like his curse. So he tried. So then he lives the rest of his immortal life trying to not care about life because he doesn't want people to die. So then it's because that this curse from Anselm caused Zareth to be immortal, that it made him want to die. So that's why he decided to create the demons that would kill him, because he, in hopes that they would be able to kill him, and then that would be called the demons of Zareth's book. And then here we come to Natsu, which is God. So he creates these demons, and then he creates the demons to kill him, but it fails, and obviously because he's still alive. And then he decides to create his last, his final demon, which is Natsu. And we find out in this chapter that Natsu's body is Zareth's brother's body. So this isn't actually Natsu. His brother's name is Natsu Dragonmeal. And Zareth, we found out that his last name is Zareth. So his name is Zareth Dragonmeal as well. So he creates a new person in his dead brother's body. So he's essentially not his brother. He has his brother's body, but it's a completely different person. Which makes sense, which brings us back to the episode when Natsu first meets Zareth, and Zareth starts crying and says it's you, and now that all makes sense because it's his brother. We don't know how he gets separated from Zareth and how he ends up being raised by Igneel. And I'm also have questions about the preservation of his brother's body, as well as after he got away from Zareth, how his body is still preserved because he's like over 400 years old. So yeah, so now we know that they're both brothers, essentially. In physicality, they're brothers. That's why I'm very interested to see where that takes us. Now it's very familial, I feel like it's going to be very difficult for Natsu along the way when he finds out that he's his brother, and that might create conflict in killing Zareth. I don't see how the story is going to end without Zareth dying, unless something happens and Zareth comes to terms with his brother's death, maybe, and gets closure somehow, and alleviates the curse. What we don't know about much yet is Zareth's relationship with Mavis, so I feel like she'll play a big part in the outcome of Zareth's death, or like the before of Zareth dying, because we still don't know much about their relationship yet. And Zareth said that in this chapter too. He said that he, as if talking to Natsu, he's talking to the book, he's telling him that he would tell us about Mavis some other time. So also about how Igneel came to raise Natsu. So I guess Mashima's doing the whole IV drip of information thing going on. So that'll probably take another God knows how long, especially if they're going to be stopping the double chapters. And then at the very, very end of the chapter, we have Zareth going to visit Acnologia, or Acnologia. Sounds weird to say out loud. And we see that he has taken on a human form, and which makes sense because he was originally a human. But he learned dragon magic so much and it consumed him that he became a dragon himself, but now we know that he can revert back to human form. We also learn that they're both, Zareth and Acnologia, are not on the same side. Apparently they used to be, so I'm wondering what their relationship is. I'm very curious about their relationship now. So we have Acnologia and Zareth and Natsu, because at the very end, Zareth says that it will be the immortal, the fight between all of them will be the immortal one, the human and the dragon, which is obviously referring to those three. And I think that's interesting, because Zareth said that he doesn't want to take sides, he doesn't want to side with Acnologia, and he doesn't want to side with Natsu, he wants to defeat them both. So what I'm confused about is Zareth's personality. This is pretty confusing. He wants to die, he wants Natsu to kill him, but he wants to destroy all human life. He wants to die because he can't feel compassion for life. Because if he does, then everything around him dies. So I think what he's doing, his personality has developed to where he's just completely become a dark force in magic, because if he wasn't, then he would be killing everything around him, and that's ultimately what he wants. But he had to become this dark force and to keep pining for death, because everything would die around him. I think that he actually sent Natsu away then, because he probably cared too much about him, that he couldn't have him be around. He couldn't have Natsu be around himself, because then he would have killed him unconsciously with his powers. And that's why when he first met him, when he first encountered him, he told him to stay away, because he started killing everything around him because he saw him, and that probably triggered him just seeing Natsu probably triggered that. So now we know why. Every time things all die around Zareth, because he's starting to care about human life. And he doesn't seem to have any control of it either, which I think is really interesting. He's been living for like 400 years, and he still can't control any of his powers. Obviously, he's still powerful as hell, but because he was a wizard before, just that one power, the power to stop his destruction, his unconscious destruction, is something that he can't control. Yes, overall, the first chapter, 435, was pretty dumb. I don't think it was necessary. I think it was just a filler chapter. I mean, I guess I'm glad that everyone's back together, but it just seems like Mashin is just getting kind of lazy, and it's just kind of really hurrying and rushing through these chapters, especially with Avatar and all that stuff. So that's it. I will review the next chapter that comes out, and I will see you later. Goodbye.